Welcome to Mardu Hammer. Hope you're excited to really attack our opponent's hand and just make sure they have no cards left in their hand and just go for a +1 on Angrath until you win the game, and that is feels good. Feels like you're just sitting there just banging them with Angrath's hammer, and that is some feel-good magic right there. But let's start off with the discard for the deck, and that is going to be Angrath, the Flame Change. So, coming in at 5 total mana, we've got +1, each opponent discards a card, and then they lose 2 life. -3, gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap it, it gains haste. Then if it's converted mana cost 3 or less, you're going to be able to sacrifice it at your end step. Then for a -8, each opponent loses life equal to the number of cards in his or her graveyard. So basically, the kind of core concept for this deck was, I really wanted to build a deck that really kind of focused around Angrath. I had, I think, 2 copies of it, and I picked up another copy to kind of build this deck. And the cool thing about this particular deck, is that we're really attacking our opponent's life total. We don't really have a lot of hand disruption, and we're targeting certain spells. But basically, we're using Angrath. We're also using stuff like Basilica Bell Haunt to make them kind of discard cards. And once we get to that point where they're just kind of in this top deck mode, we can just basically keep using Angrath to kind of plus up 1, that's going to be 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage, and hopefully we get down Rekindling Phoenix, and we're going to be able to swing in and really kind of start putting our opponent's life total down all the way down to 0. So, long story short, goal for this deck is to basically kind of attack the cards in our opponent's hand, kill anything that gets on the battlefield, and then close it out with either Doom Whisperer or one of our flying threats. But that's kind of the too long didn't read of the deck. But man, it feels good when your opponent gets your opponent hell-bent and you go for those +1 activations turn after turn. That is some good magic. The other reason I decided to build this deck was because the Carnage card. It's going to deal 3 damage to target opponent. That player discards 2 cards. I saw that card, I was like, man, I want to build some sort of deck that just incorporates just this heavy, painful discard element, and this is exactly it. Angrath's going to go for that +1 discard a card, they lose 2 life. I'm going to go for Carnage, 3 damage, they discard 2 cards. It's just going to be really hard for our opponents to rebound once we get rid of all of their cards in their hand and really start attacking them. But this is pretty much going to be the core concept of the deck, is these 3 cards right here. And then plus the Carnival ability, you can deal 1 damage to target creature or planeswalker, then 1 damage to that your opponent. The cool thing about Carnival is, you always want to use it for Carnage if we can in some certain scenario to where we can then make them discard 2 cards. But the cool thing with Carnival is that we can kind of use it as a little bit of a spot removal. There's a lot of mono blue running around, mono red, a lot of aggro matches. So that 1 damage does matter and kind of help you keep a planeswalker off their ultimate loyalty or something like that. So it is nice to have that first part on there, but the second part is kind of what we're going for, especially with the Mardu Hammer. Now let's move on to the utility creatures for this deck, and that's going to be Doom Whisperer. There's a lot of times where, like I mentioned, both of us are hell-bent, we're hell-bent, our opponent's hell-bent. Once we get down Doom Whisperer, you can be super aggressive. You don't have to worry about any sort of threat. There is a risk in being really aggressive with your paying 2 life and surveilling, but, we're the aggressor in this particular matchup. We're playing Mardu discard. So once you get down Doom Whisperer, let's say your opponent finally does top deck some sort of answer, you can use Doom Whisperer to just kind of dig through your library and find whether Vraska's Contempt, whether it's some sort of spot removal, or anything like that. Doom Whisperer is definitely going to allow us to kind of outrace the top deck war against our opponent. Now, the other card in here that works out really well is going to be Rekindling Phoenix. It's flying 4/3, doesn't have haste, but the good thing about this is we are running a lot of board wipes in here. So we want to discard cards out of our opponent's hand. We want to clear the board. Once we get down Rekindling Phoenix and go for something like Cleansing Nova, we can basically just always have a threat on the battlefield. So between Angrath plus dealing 2 damage to your opponent, Rekindling, swinging in for 4 each turn, kind of surviving a board wipe, you basically always have some sort of consistent threat to put onto your opponent. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, if we're getting our opponent to a hell-bent way to where they have no cards in the hand, the fact that we can kind of rebound with Rekindling Phoenix, even if they do finally find some sort of spot removal, it's basically going to just keep being able to swing turn after turn. So really love this creature set, and they're pretty much outside of the Bell Haunt. This is pretty much the only creatures we're running in here. Now, onto the utility spells. That's going to be Electro Dominance and then Light Up the Stage. So Light Up the Stage, card draw. That's what it is. Now, Electro Dominance. This card is a ton of fun. I love this card. So, you can go for Electro Dominance. You end up having to pay 5 mana to go for the full Carnival and Carnage. But there's a lot of times where, let's say your opponent's about to be hell-bent, you can cast Electro Dominance for 5. X equals 5. That's going to be 5 damage to their face. And then you can go for the Carnage part and make them discard 2 cards during their draw step. That is some good magic right there. That always feels really good. Electro Dominance basically allows us to drop in a Planeswalker at our opponent's opponent's end step. We can just tap out for a ton of damage if we're in the top deck war. Either way, this is a very good card for the deck. But if you can sequence an Electro Dominance with Carnage during your opponent's upkeep, that is that's some good magic right there. Now, we are playing Mardu. That's going to give us access to a ton of removal. That's going to be Mortify, Final Payment. Like I mentioned, we want to attack our opponent's hand, so that 5 life on Final Payment, that's nothing. We're going to use our life as a resource in this particular deck, especially with Doom Whisper and Final Payment. We want to make sure that we have the advantage. Even if we're at 1 life, that's fine. Doesn't really matter how much life we paid to cast some of our spells, and I really like Final Payment. It kind of acts like a Terminate that costs 5 life. It's standard. That's what it is. Outside of those, we have Bedevil and Restless Contempt. These are going to allow us to kind of keep our Planeswalkers in check and just be some good general removal. We can also target artifacts with Bedevil. Outside of the actual spot removal, we are running some board wipes. That's going to be Kaya's Wrath and Cleansing Nova. Cleansing Nova, there is a lot of Hydroid Krasis like gates running around, and so being able to have Cleansing Nova destroy all artifacts and enchantments really does kind of help you push whatever sort of game plan we're trying to go for. And the same thing with Kaya's Wrath. We're typically not going to gain a lot of life off Kaya's Wrath, but it's nice to have a 4-mana Wrath, and especially in a deck like this. But that's going to be it for the deck tech. I've got some awesome gameplay videos for you coming up next, so make sure you stick around and watch. Welcome to Mardu Hammer. As far as opening hand, oh man, this is Snap Keep. We'll keep on this one in a heartbeat. And then we do have, let's just go and lead off with, I guess, Blood Crypt. Yeah, that's fine. Have that enter the battlefield tap, then we're going to go and pass the turn. But yeah, this is pretty much everything we want to see in a good opening hand. We got double Bell Haunt. That way we can get some sort of life gain from us. And ooh, we run into Angrath. Magic Gods, thank you so much. Let's lead off. Let's go Godless Shrine. Have that enter the battlefield tapped, and then we'll go and pass the turn. So we do see a Drowned Catacomb from our opponent and a Force. So we might be playing against either Sultai Midrange, Sultai Krasis, Sultai Nexus, Sultai Wilderness, Sultai anything like that. Long story short, we're probably in for a pretty nice treat. Let's go Blood Crypt. And then that way Isolated Chapel will allow us to go for Bell Haunt. Yeah, that'll work. All right, we're going to have the enter the battlefield tapped. And what we're going to try to do is, since we do have Carnage, that's really going to attack their hand. Let's see if we can't go for Bell Haunt, and then Carnage. Might end up going for Angrath, if possible. But if we can just be really aggressive with this, I really kind of like going for that. Do we want to go for Carnage? Just to get rid of that. Yeah, this is going to be a great trade. Yeah, I like doing this because we can get rid of that Explore ability. That way we don't have to burn a removal spell. It's just 1 red mana. And then we got Plaguecrafter. Ooh, now with Plaguecrafter, yeah, we definitely need to go for the Bell Haunt. So let's go Bell Haunt. And one of the ways that we can certainly kind of play against a good stuff deck like Sultai is by attacking their hand. Put them into this top deck mode. One of the things that we do not want to see is going to be Hydroid Krasis. If they end up going Hydroid Krasis, it's going to be really hard for us to kind of do anything. And the Doom Whisper. Let's go Dragon Skull Summit. And with shields down, I feel better sticking Angrath. If they have another Plaguecrafter, they have another Plaguecrafter. Let's go for the +1. We just really want to start attacking their hand and get rid of a lot of this stuff out of there. And this is pretty much what this deck wants to do. This is a great showing of what we've got going on. Next turn, we'll go for Bell Haunt and then Jadelight Ranger. Okay, that's great. One of the good things about Angrath is that we can gain control of that creature. It feels really good. I like it. Let's go. And actually, if we want to, let's go for the consume part first. Well, just in case we're running into Carnage Tyrant, I feel better about this one. Let's go for the -3. We're going to gain control of Jadelight Ranger. That's going to be the removal spell. See if we can't force some sort of action from our opponents. Knock them down to 13. We go for Bell Haunt. It's going to make them discard a card. And that way, if their payoff card is Carnage Tyrant, they're not going to be able to cast it just yet, but at least we do have some sort of answer for any sort of Carnage Tyrant. Because if it's going to be hanging out, Carnage Tyrant's going to be hanging out anywhere. It's definitely going to be hanging out in that deck. I have that enter the battlefield tapped. And then bye-bye, Miss Jadelight Ranger. Thank you so much for joining the Angrath Pirate Ship. Okay, opponent's getting down Plaguecrafter, and that's going to be the last card is Cry. So we're definitely going to sacrifice Bell Haunt, and we're just going to go to town. Let's go for it. Let's go. Each opponent discards a card, and at this point right now, we go Isolated Chapel, we go Doom Whisper, and this is exactly how this deck wants to operate. We get down Doom Whisper, we're at 26 thanks to those Bell Haunts, and we're just going to be super, super aggressive, just finding even something like, got their own Doom Whisper. All right, so we end up going, so they get down Doom Whisper, they can definitely surveil. We get in for 6. Yeah, they're going to start digging. So even if they start surveilling, we can still -3 gain control of target creature, and that's going to be lethal for next turn. So we don't even have to surveil anymore. So that's pretty much what we're going to do, and that's going to be pretty cool. We're going to have the twin powers of Doom Whisper. So let's go gain control of Doom Whisper. Oh, look at that. Doom Whisper, you've got a buddy. You've got your own Doom Whisper. So we're going to grab control of this Doom Whisper. They have no cards in the hand. Our opponents can scoop it up, so there we go. This is exactly what this deck wants to do, you know, get down Angrath, really start attacking their hand. You can see that we were in a position to set up a Carnage for 4 mana, make them discard a card, or 2 cards, but thankfully we were able to use that on the Jadelight Ranger. We were able to use Angrath to its fullest ability, gain control of Jadelight Ranger, and then the second one they got, I don't know, it's just a really fun Mardu style deck to pilot. Anyway, happy the deck played out exactly how we want it to go, and I will see you in the next game. All right, bye. Welcome to Mardu Carnage. As far as opening hand goes, yes, we'll definitely keep on this one. I like this. I'd like to see one more black source, but when you got 3 lands in the hand, we're definitely going to keep on this. So let's go Godless Shrine. We're going to have this enter the battlefield tapped, and then we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. We are running 4 copies of Carnival and Carnage in here. There's a lot of times you could shock in a Godless Shrine, but we're trying to be somewhat protective of our life totals, so that's just kind of what we've got going on. I think at this point right now, we definitely want to go for Carnage. We want to get rid of this Siren Storm Tamer. So we're going to deal 1 damage and 1 damage up top. Let's get down Sacred Foundry. That way we have at least another one of our dual sources, and then we don't have to shock it in later. Now we've got a pretty good, looks like we're playing against, well, I thought it was Mono Blue Flyers, but it looks like we're playing against Black Blue Control. I know that Black Blue Control has been kind of sticking around a lot recently. Let's go with Godless Shrine. We're going to have that enter the battlefield tapped, and that way we can lead off with Clifftop Retreat, and we can get our Cleansing Nova back whenever we need. We've got double Restless Contempt. And all right, so it looks like we are playing against some sort of black-blue kind of Curiosity or Curious Obsession deck. And if you have not played a Curious Obsession or Mono Blue Flyers, it is a fun deck to play. I really enjoy it. Let's get down. That way they know we have Clifftop Retreat. And also, if you're new to Magic Online and you see that little eyeball, that means they know what that card is, or they can see what that card is. So definitely want to keep that in mind. Now, we can go for Rekindling Phoenix. That's something that we can go for. If we want to, we can kind of do something during our opponent's upkeep. Yeah, let's go for Restless Contempt during our opponent's upkeep. That way, if they do have a counterspell, they're going to have to use it, and we can do it before the draw step. So we're going to go for Restless Contempt on Kitesail Freebooter. And the main reason we're doing this during their upkeep is to force them to use a counterspell. Dive down, okay. So hopefully we could catch like a Wizard's Retort. That way they would force the double, double blue counterspell. That way we kind of do the coast is clear, and they're going to get that down. So the way a lot of these decks operate is they have a ton of counter magic in here. Wizard's Retort. They have Dive Down as a little bit of protection. Now this particular deck, it does remind me that I've been all right, so we run into Sacred Foundry. So we could be running into a Essence Scatter, or the other one, Essence Harvest, I think that's what it's called. Let's go to our main phase. We get down Sacred Foundry. We're going to have that come into play tapped. And yeah, we're just going to be running into a counterspell, I feel. So you know what, let's try this. Let's go for, once again, let's go during their upkeep. We're going to go for another Restless Contempt during their upkeep. That way we can do this before their card draw. If they have another thing, they're going to have to go for this counter spell and basically just kind of chew up some of their turn. Then we can go for Rekindling Phoenix. This is not necessarily a battle over Cleansing Nova. I mean, it is in a way, but the main thing is we want to stop that Curious Obsession. That's the main thing that we're trying to do, is because once they just have that repeated card draw source, that really negates what we're trying to do with this deck. And that's really get their life total down, get their hand total down, and then get down Angrath and just start swinging his Pirate Hammer and going to town. All right, Night Veil Predator, and that's going to be Isolated Chapel coming into play. We'll get down Dragon Skull Summit. I think Flying Death Touch Hexproof with 1 mana open. Yeah, we can go for Rekindling Phoenix. I mean, we get that down, they can't counter it. We can trade with Night Veil Predator. That forces them to have some sort of spot removal, and if they do have spot removal, we've got a way to bring back Rekindling Phoenix. So I kind of like this line of play. Opponent's going to go for Duress. Okay, they're going to catch our Cleansing Nova, which is not the end of the world. And we'll see what some of these last 3 cards are. But that's one of the good things about this deck is, this deck is really built around... just having some sort of recursion. So we do have Doom Whisperer that allows us to dig into our library to find an answer when we need it. But, well, if we get hit by Restless Contempt, that's not going to be good. But, game plans where we go like Cleansing Nova and we destroy all the creatures, Rekindling Phoenix is going to stick around. We're going to get that extra creature on the battlefield, and it just kind of negates their 2-for-1s in a way, kind of makes them half spells or whatever. All right, they're going to go, yes, there you go. They just spend 2 cast downs to get rid of Rekindling Phoenix. Now, we are a little bit, don't have much to show. Ooh, that is good. The only downside is it does not have flying, but we can get rid of that last card in their hand. Yeah, let's go Bell Haunt. It's going to be 3 life gain. It's going to make them get rid of that. Oh, Hostage Taker. Beautiful catch off of that. And so now we're in top deck mode. This is exactly what we want to see in this particular match. This is where this deck really shines. So if we can get down and... Ooh, Thief of Sanity. Okay. Let's go and push in with... we're just going to basically keep trading on this one. We're knocking them down to 16. And since we do have a ton of mana on the battlefield at this point, we're going to hold on to Clifftop Retreat. We did see some hand disruption for our opponent. So what we really want to force is them to try to go for some sort of hand disruption on us. Knowing what our deck is capable of, we're pretty much at the max mana that we need. We could make some more land drops to try to, go for an Electro Dominance, but that's going to be really slim picking. So I'd like... sometimes in a game like this where everybody's in top deck mode, you really want to oh, no! Our opponent got our Angrath. That's not good. Okay, so we go for another Bell Haunt. We're going to try to race on this one. I guess we swing it in... If we swing it in Angrath, that's going to be 5, puts us down to 6, does extra damage... Oh no, this is not good. That's the last thing this deck needs is an Angrath, our opponent's deck. I think we're in a rough spot. I think if we want to close it out, it's going to be 5, puts us down to 6, 2 from Angrath puts us down to 4. We can swing in, puts it 13, 6. I think we just, if we're playing to our outs and that's somehow we run into Banefire or Electro Dominance, we need to attack our opponent's life total. That's our only way to really kind of get this going at this point right now. Because that's going to be 6, that puts us down to 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's, if you're keeping score at home, it's certainly a good time to check that it's not looking good box, but we're going to try our best. You can see how good Thief of Sanity is in that particular Black-Blue Flyers. Dealing that damage, but this is pretty much what I was about to say is that this is where our deck wants to be, is the top deck war, because we can get down Angrath and start attacking our opponent's hand, and unfortunately our opponent got Angrath with Thief of Sanity, so that's where their deck wants to be too right now. And let's see what they go for the Concoct. Yeah, they're going to go for Hostage Taker. That is more than likely going to be a good game. We run into a Blood Crypt, so even just in the air... We've got 5 in the air with Angrath. Yeah, that's going to be good game. Good game for sure. We're going to toss the game up to our opponent. We're going to scoop this one up. Unfortunately, our opponent was able to get it with Angrath, but we were trying to dig for him. I almost got him, but hey, that's how Magic goes sometimes. So definitely good play by our opponent. I know they're really excited to see that Angrath, and I'm not going to lie, I was kind of excited to see that too. It's always fun to see something busted like that happen. But anyway, I'll catch you in the next game. All right, bye. Welcome to Mardu Carnage or Mardu Hammer. Mardu, Angrath, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, welcome. Hope you're excited to get some good hand disruption going. As far as opening hand goes, we've got double Clifftop Retreat, Sacred Foundry. Man, I'm not super wild about it. We've got a lot of black in our hand, and this is not what we want to see. So, let's go on Mulligan. Let's see. That's going to be, yeah, I like that. We've got at least 2. We've got, worst case scenario, we can exile something, and then hopefully the Scurry treats us pretty well. So let's see what we rip into. Clifftop Retreat. Yeah, we'll take that. That's going to be a 3rd land drop. We definitely don't mind seeing that. And I think our opponent's on the play, or we might be on the play either way. Oh, there we go. No, we're on the play. I'll take that. All right, so we get down Blood Crypt. We're just going to have this come into play tapped. We could go for Carnival if we want to leave up Carnival, but at this point right now, we don't know what we're playing against. And then if they do get down Pelt Collector, we can always go for it next turn. So let's go Sacred Foundry. Just go and have that come into play tapped. And let's go for Carnage. And I love this little, I can just feel the fire breath coming out of our mouth as we just deal 1 damage to different people like that. As far as next turn goes, we're looking at Clifftop Retreat. We'll see what they get down, and we might end up going for another Carnage. Yeah, why not? We just want to basically keep that ramp off. So thank you, Lana War Elves. Get out of here. Let's get down Clifftop Retreat, and then we might use Consecrate as a way to kind of sacrifice, exile a card out of our opponent's graveyard. We'll kind of see, because if we hit the land drop, this is great. But even then, that puts us on Vraska's Contempt. But this is definitely a good option to have. I want to make sure we get a black source, because if we don't hit a black source, we are definitely major stuck. So I think we're going to go for Consecrate. I think that'd be good. So we're going to exile, let's get rid of Pelt Collector out of our opponent's graveyard. We're going to cash in a card draw. At this point right now, we're just trying to dig a little bit deeper to find some sort of land drop. There we go. Run in an Isolated Chapel. And then that's going to keep us open on double black. So we have Vraska's Contempt. We have Final Payment to go for, if that's what we're going to do. And then we have Doom Whisperer as another way for us to kind of get a pretty good clock going. So that's one of the fun things about this deck, is that this is even though we are, I think we go Final Payment. Yeah, this deck is definitely, you use your life total as a resource, Paying an extra 5 off of final payment is a great way to, Vraska's Contempt. I'm not super worried about that particular creature. I'd rather save that for, something a little bit bigger from our opponent. All right, so we're going past the turn. But, using that final payment, I love this card. It's worked out really well in this deck in that we can check in a Saurus. All right, do we want to Vraska's Contempt to gain some life? Yeah, let's do that, because that way, just in case there's some sort of random enchantment we need to worry about. And then we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we hit that 5th land drop. All right, another Vraska's Contempt, we'll take that. And this deck is basically just removal, tons of removal. And then you saw that we had a lot of the Carnage stuff from earlier. And we use the second ability, 3 damage target opponent, they discard 2 cards. So if we rip into something like Carnage, you can see how good it'd be in this particular scenario. Do we want to leave Thrashing Bronodon around on the battlefield? Yeah, I think we're okay with that. We'll go Vraska's Contempt. We're just going to get a little bit of life gain going. And we're just going to keep this board state clear. I think we're okay with that. And then kick it back over there. Draw into Angrath. Okay. All right, so now we've got some options. We hit that 5th land drop. We can really start attacking our opponent's life total. And Merfolk Branchwalker is not really the worst thing in the world that we're going to be looking at. So it's simply just a 2-1. So even if we do get down, well, it's going to be 3-2 now. Yeah, I think that's a good line of play to go for. Because even if they do get down another creature, we can still go for Angrath. And come on, land drop. We are running like 24 lands in here, so there we go. I'll take it. Let's go and shock this one in. We're going to pay 2 life, and we're going to Windmill Slam this Angrath, because we would get to the point now where we've traded 1-for-1 for everything, removal for creatures. Now we can get down something that's going to attack their life total and attack their hand. This is basically exactly what we want to do. We really want to force them to just basically have nothing left in the hand. And one of the cool things about this deck is, we have Vraska's Contempt, we have some life gain. And once we get to this Angrath position to where we can +1, we don't have to worry about any sort of creatures from our opponent. We can dig for something like a Carnage. Now, this does complicate it with Crispicula Worm, because that's going to be 7. At least at this point, we can force them to discard a card, and maybe that last card is a land card, because they're only sitting at 5 lands, so that at least, yeah, they get rid of it. Okay, so that's good. All right, let's get down Doom Whisper. The good thing about Doom Whisper is, like I mentioned, when your opponent's hell-bent, we can basically just be super aggressive with Doom Whisper and find like something like Electro Dominance, or swing it for 6 and deal some extra damage with Angrath. So, I mean, there's a lot of different options that we can do with Doom Whisper, and it's going to pass it over to our turn. Yeah, let's go and go for some activations. We want to find something that's going to be a little bit good. Duress. If it probably would have been yeah, I think we're actually okay with Duress on top. We could be a little bit more aggressive, but I like that, because if they do have another spell in the hand, we can at least get rid of it. So let's go. Let's go Duress first. That way we can see what's in their hand. Okay, they Carnage and Pelt Collector. So we go Angrath. We're going to have them discard a card. And with them basically leaving Carnage tired in the hand, let's go and push in that does not have haste. No, it doesn't. So we're going to swing in with Doom Whisper. We do have an answer for Carnage Tyrant. We may have to dig a little bit deeper. We may have to be aggressive with our life total. But if they hit the land drop, they have to hit the forest and get it down. We can still find an answer. We basically, well, we've got 6 in the air. either way. So still going to get it, yeah, because it does not have reach. So, but basically the line of play we would go for with this one is, let's say that we didn't have it in the air. What we could do is basically dig for the consume part of the card. Target player sacrifices. All right, the opponent's going to scoop it up. We had flying in the air, but we could have dug for the consume part and made them sacrifice it, get a little bit extra life, and go from there. But yes, you can see how this is exactly what the deck wants to do. Get down a ton of removal, get down Angrass, start singing that Mardu hammer, and swing it up top. The only downside is we did not get any sort of the Carnage side of Carnival going today, or in this particular match, but hey, there's always the next game. So anyway, I'll see you in the next game. Welcome to Mardu Hammer. As far as opening hand goes, we've got Blood Crypt, we have Clifftop Retreat, Final Payment, we have a little bit of early hand disruption. Yeah, this is fine. I think we can keep on this one. You know, this is definitely one of those hands. You always want to see about 3 lands in your opening hand just to make sure things go smoothly for you. But when you've got a full assortment of options to kind of deal with anything your opponent gets down, we've got a board wipe, we've got a late game threat, we've got hand disruption, 2 removal. Yeah, we'll definitely keep on this one. So hopefully the Magic Gods will treat us well. And in fact, let's go and shock in Blood Crypt. And we're going to go for a really quick duress and just kind of see what our opponent's got cooking in the kitchen. So Conclave Tribunal, Ixalan's Binding, Vivian Reed. So it looks like we're playing against Selesnya tokens. Well, not necessarily tokens, but just Selesnya good stuff. Now, what are we going to grab? We can grab Vivian Reed. We have a Devil for Vivian Reed. We have Final Payment for, I guess at this point, because we do also have Cleansing Nova to deal with some of these enchantments. You know what? Let's just grab Vivian Reed. You know, if they want to end up going enchantments on this stuff, Cleansing Nova to get rid of whatever they steal with these, both of those enchantments is a wonderful way that this deck really shines. I'm telling you, if your opponent gets down Binding, Ixalan's Binding or whatever it's called, yeah, Binding, and then you go for that Cleansing Nova to bring all your Planeswalkers back. Whoa, some good magic. All right, so let's go Isolated Chapel. That's going to enter the battlefield untapped, and that will definitely keep us on for Final Payment. Now, this particular match, we're going to be aggressive. We want to make sure the board is clear. We don't want to help out any convoke stuff from our opponent. So even if they do end up getting down Spore Crown, they do have Temple Garden. They can't shock that down to get down Spore Crown. But I think what we might end up doing is going for, all right, so they opt not to get it down. Selesnya Gilgate. Let's go Clifftop Retreat. And then that does finally put us on for Bedevil or going for Final Payment. Fingers crossed, hopefully we do run into another land drop for the turn that'll really allow us to get down Rekindling Phoenix and kind of start working towards that. But I think we'll probably end up going for a Final Payment on, Sapling Migration. Do want to cash one of those in, just to really kind of mess with our opponent's Convoke. No, I think we want them to spin the Convoke. That way we can go for Cleansing Nova. All right, so we do hit another land source. That's great. Let's get down Swamp. Let's go Rekindling Phoenix. Yeah, let's do that. It's going to be a 4-3. That leaves the door wide open for this Conclave Tribunal, for them to tap all these creatures down and get that down. But like I mentioned, we want to kind of set up a Cleansing Nova to where we can destroy everything and just really kind of dictate what they do for the turn. You know, if we want to make them get down Conclave Tribunal to deal with Rekindling Phoenix, I kind of like forcing them into that particular line of play. So that's what at least we're going to go for at this point right now. Okay, they're going to go for Conclave Tribunal, and they're going to tap down 1 Sapling token, so it's going to get rid of Rekindling Phoenix. That does give us an opportunity to at least kind of hopefully catch another land drop, and that way they're not getting down like the Centaur, the Conclave Cavalier. And there we go, hit the land. All right, so we get that down. And I think at this point, yeah, we just go and pass the turn. Let's see what they end up going for. And the good thing about the Conclave Cavalier is that we do have Vraska's Contempt. So if they do end up going for the Conclave Cavalier, what we can do is exile it and not end up with those extra tokens on the battlefield. And we'll still end up going for this cleanse. Depending on what they get down, we can still end up going Cleansing Nova. We can always get rid of that Conclave Tribunal. That's something we definitely want to do. But if they're simply just going to go for Conclave Cavalier, then we will definitely go for Vraska's Contempt. We're going to get rid of that exile, because even if we do go for a board wipe, getting some extra tokens is not what we want to see. And that gives us a little bit of extra life gain. So basically, kind of like we fogged out that last turn. Alright, so they're swinging for 2. We do have Isolated Chapel. I think at this point, with them having Binding in the hand, I think I'm okay with actually going Cleansing Nova to get back our creature. Yeah, that'd be good. All right, so let's go destroy all artifacts and enchantments. That's going to give us back Rekindling Phoenix. That kind of puts our opponent in this position of going for binding. The main reason I'm doing this right now is because let's say that we finally we top deck Engrath. What that's going to allow us to do is we can get this down and not worry about our opponent going for binding on Engrath. And that'll allow us to really start attacking our opponent's hand. And we've pretty much got an answer for whatever they decide to get down. I would feel a little bit better if we did get another board wipe going. That way we can deal with some of these tokens. We do have March of the Multitudes, more than likely to watch out for, or we can just go for Doom Whisper. That's a perfectly fine line of play to go for too. All right, and on this one, we might be a little aggressive with Doom Whisper. This deck is a little, you know, back in the day in Magic, they'd have something called you know, like a black control deck that would be really aggressive with their life total. And you'd pay a ton of life to just basically do as much stuff as possible. And I think that's what we're going to try to do with Doom Whisper, because if we can catch even something like a Cleansing Nova to clear up some of these sapling tokens, I think I like that, because that'll stop some of those, oh, dang it, I meant to go, clicked on it too quickly. All right, so let's go and push him for 6. That's going to be them swinging in for 5 on the back end. Then we've got Bedevil and Final Payment, which we don't really want to go for Final Payment. Yeah, you know what? Let's not attack. I accidentally, unfortunately, there's a little bit of a misplay. I accidentally double-clicked through our turn trying to figure out what sort of stuff they could potentially have. But we'll go for Surveil next turn, and then hopefully we can surveil ourselves into a board wipe, kind of clear some of this up, and then still swing in with Doom Whisper. Because if we can swing in for 6 in the air, knock them down to 14, and then go for a board wipe, that'll be a really good way. Yeah, with them going for all these, they're definitely making us want to go for a board wipe. We'll see if they end up swinging in with some of these sapling tokens. If they don't, I think that's what I was waiting for it to go to the combat steps. So that's why I didn't go for Doom Whisper. Mortify, Rekindling Phoenix. We're going to be aggressive on this one. Go for it again. Bell Haunt. There we go, Cleansing Nova. All right, so we're going to put Cleansing Nova on top, and let's go back over to our turn. Let's go and swing in for 6 in the air with Doom Whisper. There we go. It's going to knock them down to 14, and let's just clean this up with a Cleansing Nova. That does leave us open on Destroy All Creatures. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. This does leave us open on Final Payment, paying 5 life, so if they get down a big threat, we can certainly go for that. But the main thing is we have Bedevil, but if we can help it, we want to hold on to Bedevil for any other copies of Vivian Reed. That's what we're basically looking out for. Okay, Yavimaya Shepherd is a battlefield, create a 1/1 green sapling creature token. That is a 2/2. We're going to cash in a... Man, I don't think we want to cash in a Final Payment on that one. We could, but that gets our life total down really low, and especially with us not knowing what we're going to draw into next turn, so we'll do that. Unfortunately, we did have to be a little bit aggressive with this particular deck, but, you know, that's just kind of how this deck goes, you know. It's really fun kind of being aggressive, especially with Doom Whisper. So we've got Final Payment on Spore Crown, and then we've got... Yeah, I think that's fine. Let's go Final Payment on Spore Crown. Get rid of that tribal effect. And then draw into another Final Payment, which we cannot cast. And I think at this point, just in case we don't run into some sort of... Well, we can wait. Yeah, we'll wait until our opponent's turn. So we are sitting at 4. Hopefully they'll get down another Tribal Lord. We do have Bedevil that we can end up going for, the Yavimaya Shepherd. Or Sapphire. Oh. I just now realized that. That's pretty cool. Sorry. This is just sometimes where you think it's a shepherd, but it's a Sapphire. Oh man, that's pretty neat. Oh man, we got double tribal effects. Oh no. I think that's a game. I mean, we can go for Bedevil. And then just keep our fingers crossed for a board wipe. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go Bedevil on Yavimaya Sapphire. I like that. That's pretty cool. That's one of my new favorite cards now. It's going to put us down to 1, and then we rip into Isolated Chapel, which is not going to get it done. A good game to our opponent. We're just going to get this down and kick it back over there. So opponent's going to get it on this one. We tried to be aggressive. Unfortunately, with we could not find Engrath to really kind of help us kind of seal the deal, kind of close it out. We did have to be a little bit aggressive with Doom Whisper, but hey, this deck's, that's what we want to do with this deck. We want to be aggressive. You know, it's fun paying some life total and kind of going down on life. But yeah, good game to our opponent. They definitely win it with the sapling tribal effects, and I'll catch you in the next game. All right, bye.